Well, so far we've talked about scales. Now we're going to talk about chords. Most basic chords consist of a specific arrangement of 3 notes called triads. A triad consists of a root note, which gives the chord its letter name, a third interval above the root note, and a fifth interval above the root note. So we're going to learn some triads in the key of A. I'm going to start off on the D, G, and the B strings. We're going to play an A triad here, starting with A on the 7th fret of the D string, C sharp, which is a third above that A, on the 6th fret of the G string, and then E on the 5th fret of the B string, which is a fifth above A. I put these 3 notes together and I get an A major triad. Now I'm going to move up the neck on these same 3 strings and play another A major triad. For this triad, on the D string I have the note C sharp, which is the 3rd. E, which is the 5th, is found on the 9th fret of the G string. A, which is the root note, is found on the 10th fret of the B string. So here's an A triad. The root note is on the B string. Now we're going to play one more A triad on these same 3 strings. I'm going to move up to the 14th fret now. So on the 14th fret of the D string, I'll play E. 14th fret of the G string, I get the root note A. 14th fret of the B string, I get the major third C sharp. So now we've played 3 A major triads. The order is a little bit different each time. These are known as inversions. But yet the 3 notes make up an A triad. It doesn't matter what the order of those 3 notes are. So now here's a longer exercise playing A major triads all over the neck using the other strings. I'll play through it and then we'll break it down. The first A triad I played started off with the root note A, 5th fret of the low E string, the 3rd C sharp, 4th fret of the A string, and the 5th, which is E, I played on the 2nd fret of the D string. The next A triad starts off on the 4th fret of the A string, that's C sharp, the major 3rd, followed by E, which is the 5th, and the root note A is found on the G string. The next triad, I'm going to play E on the D string, A on the G string, C sharp on the B string. So far we've played 3 A triads. Now I'm going to shift positions. 7th fret, D string, I'll play A, followed by C sharp and E. That's the same triad we were doing earlier. The next triad I'm going to play C sharp on the 6th fret of the G string, E on the 5th fret of the B string, A on the 5th fret of the high E string. Same 3 strings. I'm now going to move up the neck. I'm going to play E on the 9th fret of the G string, the root note A on the 10th fret of the B string, and then C sharp, the major 3rd, on the 9th fret of the high E string. I'm going to move up again. Now I'm going to play A on the 14th fret of the G string, C sharp on the 14th fret of the B string, E on the 12th fret of the high E string. And then I can move all the way up here. I can play on the 18th fret of the G string, that's C sharp, 17th fret of the B string, I can play the note E, 17th fret of the high E string, I get the note A. So if I play all of those triads, here's the exercise. And you should also be able to get back down. Now let's talk about minor triads. The difference between a major triad and a minor triad is the third interval. If we lower the third of a major triad by 1/2 step or 1 fret, we create a minor triad. So if we compare A major to A minor, whereas A major has A, C sharp, and E, A minor will have A, C, and E. The C being the minor third of A. So let's play that same exercise we just learned, but this time let's apply A minor triads. So here's the first shape. So I have A, C, and E. Following this, I'll play C, E, and the root note A, followed by E, A, and C. The root note is in the middle here on the G string. Shift positions. I'm going to play A on the D string, 7th fret, followed by C and E. Next triad, we're going to play C, E, and A. The root note is on the 5th fret of the high E string. Here's what we've done so far. Moving up on the top 3 strings, our next A minor triad looks like this. G string, I'm playing the note E on the 9th fret, followed by A on the 10th fret of the B string, that's our root note. The minor third C is found on the 8th fret of the high E string. Shifting positions once again, the next A minor triad looks like this. So the root note A is on the 14th fret of the G string. I'm playing C, the minor third, on the 13th fret of the B string, followed by the 12th fret of the high E string. I'm playing the 5th E. And finally, up on the 17th fret, I can bar across the top 3 strings, and there's the last A minor triad. C, E, A. So let's put all of those together now. And if we come back down, all right, well, that's a lot of shapes. That's a lot of major chords. It's a lot of minor chords. Let's try and apply this now. The first chord progression that we soloed over was in the key of C major, and here are the basic chords for that chord progression. We played C, followed by G, followed by F. Then we repeated C, G, and F. Following this, C, G, A minor, F. Finally ending C, G, F. So this whole jam is an 8-bar chord progression. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that sounds fine just using open chords, but if we use some of the triads that we just learned, maybe we can embellish those open chords a little bit. So for example, I could play a C chord like this, where I'm playing C on the 5th fret of the G string, and then I'm surrounding that root note C by playing G on the 5th fret of the D string, E on the 5th fret of the B string. Then we go to G, maybe I'll take a G chord here. We've learned a lot, so we can kind of pick and choose where we want to play these triads now. So here I'm playing G, B, D. That's my G major chord. Then maybe I want to go down to F, just move this chord shape back a whole step. Now I go back to C, back to G. Now we go to F again. Maybe I want to pick a different F. How about this one? Here I have the root note on the 6th fret of the B string, that's F. And I surround that with C on the 5th fret of the G string, A on the 7th fret of the D string. Now I go back to C, to G. This time I'm going to play an A minor chord. So an A minor triad in this position, why don't I choose this one? 7th fret on the D string, 5th fret G, 5th fret on the B string. So I have A, C, and E. Now I can go back to an F chord. Why don't I choose the same F chord that I just played previously? The F with the root note F on the 6th fret of the B string. And we end C, G, and F. So this is one way to play this chord progression out of many possibilities. If we put that all together, it could sound something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, well, there's one way to play over this chord progression. There's lots of possibilities. So take some time and experiment over that C major backing track. Let's try learning the chords now for the other backing track that we've played over today, which is G major. Here are the basic chords for the G major backing track. G, D, E minor, C, G, D, C, G, D, A minor, E minor, C, and D. So this is also an 8-bar chord progression. If I put those 8 bars together, it sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, well now let's try applying some of these new triads that we've learned. Why don't we start off by taking the root note on the A string. Here's one way to play a G major triad, root note on the A string. So I have G, B, and D. Next chord is D. I'm going to play F sharp, A, followed by the root note D on the G string. So G, D. Next chord is E minor. I'm going to play E minor, E, G, and B, followed by a C chord. So here I have E, G, and C. Here's what I've done so far. G, D, E minor, C. Back to G, D, and C. Back to G, D, Now I'm going to play A minor. So here's one way that we can play A minor. I have E, A, and C. The root note is in the middle on the D string. Following the A minor chord, I'm going to go to an E minor chord, E, G, and B, followed by a measure of C. Here I have E, G, and C, and a measure of D. Okay, so let's put all of that together. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, well, in this chapter, we've gone through the two most common triads, major and minor. There are 4 triads altogether: major, minor, diminished, and augmented. Before moving on to the others, you need to really have a good handle on the major and the minor. So spend some time absorbing this information, experiment with the backing tracks, and if you do all that, then you're ready to move on. So good luck with the triads.